Բարև ձեզ հարգելի բարեկամներ, Սփյուռքի ձայնը հեռուստահանդեսը դարձյալ ձեզ հետ է։ Հայոց Ցեղասպանության 107-րդ տարելիցին նվիրված հանրահավաքը այս տարի տեղի ունեցավ ապրիլ 24-ին Times Square հրապարակում, ի ցույց Manhattan-ի բազմազգ հասարակության։ Այժմ ուզում եմ ձեր ուշադրությանը ներկայացնել մեր պատրաստած ակնարկը այդ մասին։
For the commemoration of the 107th anniversary of Armenian Genocide. This year again, large crowds of Armenian and non-Armenian demonstrators alike gathered at the heart of New York City in Times Square to raise their voices and demand justice for 1.5 million Armenian souls massacred by Ottoman Turkey during the Armenian Genocide in 1915. Over a century later, following the horrific massacres of innocent civilians, men, women, and children, the United States government has officially recognized the Armenian Genocide. However, the issue of worldwide recognition remains front and center, and especially in light of recent war in Artsakh and continuous aggression of Azerbaijan against Armenia and Armenian people. For nearly 3 decades, Armenian Genocide commemoration event at Times Square has been organized by Mid-Atlantic chapters of the Knights and Daughters of Vartan. From 2 p.m., large group of marchers joined the demonstrators in Times Square. Titled March for Justice and Demand Reparations, the marchers walked from St. Illuminatus Cathedral to protest in front of Turkish and Azerbaijan consulate before joining Times Square event. The march was organized by AYE and ANC New York, New Jersey chapters. The event opened with American and Armenian national anthems sung by Astriknet Vocal Ensemble of Brooklyn Armenian School. Followed by invocation by Father David Karamian, vicar of St. Vartan Cathedral of New York. Masters of ceremony were Armen Macomber Esquire, Navair Beylerian, and her daughter Lucine Beylerian. After the opening remarks of Masters of Ceremony, Reverend Dr. Haik Kharlopian, the pastor of Armenian Evangelical Church of New York, prayed and made remarks.
Though we've been victimized 107 years ago by the evils committed by the Ottoman Empire, we've been victimized by genocide. We are not victims. We are Armenians. We are the spiritual offspring of the apostles Bartholomew and Thaddeus, who planted the seeds of faith in our people. We are Armenians. We are the descendants of Gregory the Illuminator. When Gregory was in the dark pit for 13 years, God said, "Let there be light," and light shined from the darkness, making us the first Christian nation. We are Armenians.
In addition to the Armenian clergy, community leaders, and all representatives of major Armenian political parties, cultural and charitable organizations, joining the demonstrators were staunch supporters of Armenian causes, U.S. representatives in Congress and Senate, and New York and New Jersey state senators and politicians. As in previous years, Senator Chuck Schumer addressed the audience with a rousing and inspiring speech.
Harev and Ketsi Hayastan. So it is good to be with you here, be back together again, all in person, for this year's commemoration. As you know, I've come every year. But this is the first year I'm in person as your majority leader. The first ever from New York. It's an honor of a lifetime and a privilege to serve all of you every day in the Senate. And just like many of you over the last years, I also suffered personal loss. You're my family almost, so I'll share with you that my dad of 98 passed away in November. Now, he didn't get a lot of breaks in life. He struggled as a small businessman. He had a small, not very successful exterminating business. But when he left me with two values. One, always try to help people who need help. And two, if you do the right thing and persist, God will reward you. My dad is still here watching, and that is so appropriate because this community persisted and persisted and persisted, and we finally got America to recognize the genocide against the Armenian people. And I said to you, if I ever became majority leader, I would be proud to put that legislation on the floor, and I am so proud that we have gotten it done. Congratulations. Or I should say to you, let's see here, Shnor Hakali Tiun. How's that? Okay, so let me just say this. For too long, throughout history, nations of the world turned a blind eye to one of the most shameful episodes in human history. And for years, I've sponsored Senate resolutions that called on presidents of both parties, this is not a partisan issue, to lead the world by example and to define the atrocity for what it was, a genocide. And finally, those tireless efforts culminated last year in a huge milestone when President Biden recognized the genocide. So let me repeat what I said on the Senate floor that day to you as Majority Leader. I said, quote, I am relieved, I am gratified, and I am moved that we can finally commemorate the anniversary with the knowledge that the United States, the strongest nation in history, and a beacon for freedom and human rights around the world, that the United States will finally have recognized the truth of the Metzgekern at last. This happened because of all of you, because of all your work, because of the knights and daughters of Bart, because of all of the Armenian people who said we're never going to forget, and the many others who were with them. So I want you to give yourselves a standing ovation for what you have done. Yes, we owe it to the victims, we owe it to the Armenian nation, and we owe it to humanity all over the world to remember, because a genocide that's not properly remembered can lead to another. And now we have seen more attempts. This genocide was the first of this century, but not the last. Millions suffered as a result of the lessons unlearned, a legacy of suffering that stretches from Stalin's Ukraine to Hitler's Germany, to Pol Pot's Cambodia, to the Balkans, Rwanda, Sudan, and beyond. And these are not just a stain on one nation. Just like the Metzgekern, they are a stain on all of humanity. Every generation must say never again. Every generation should not fail to keep that promise. Every generation must not stop trying. And one other thing I'm proud to say. We are so proud of the 1.5 million Armenian Americans living here in freedom in the United States of America. You are a great, hardworking, successful community. You are among the very best in America. So I say, what better proof that the American nation has not endured by the greatness and the prosperity and the wonderfulness of this community. So in conclusion, the three pashas are gone. The Ottoman Empire is gone. But the Armenian people live on. Long may they live. Long live Armenia. Metzi Hayastan. God bless each and every one of you. We have finally recognized the genocide. That will encourage other nations to follow suit. And the Armenian community will never forget The reason that genocide is remembered is because of all the people here, the Knights and Daughters of Vartan.
The next speaker was Thomas Richard Sozi, U.S. Representative of New York's 3rd District.
Shinor Hagalam. Harav. I'm Congressman Tom Swazi. Nice to see everybody. I've always gotten 100% rating from the Armenians, I want you to know, in Congress. And I'm running for governor now. And, you know, we're talking about the war crimes that we see in Ukraine right now, and we're talking about human rights violations, but we need to pay attention exactly what's going on in Armenia right now as we speak. We cannot have a waiver of the section of the law that would hurt the Armenian people even more than they are right now. So I want you to know, I will always stand with you. Stand with the Armenian people. I was very lucky when I was the county executive in Nassau County. My chief of staff was an Armenian. Arda Nazarian was her name. She taught me about the genocide. She taught me about the history. She talked about the Armenians' love of democracy, about their faith. And I want you to know that I will always stand with you. I don't know if I can say this properly. Yes, ser head nem mish. Getse Hayastan, Getse Artsakh.
Today, as you know, there's a very difficult situation in Nagorno-Karabakh. How can we ensure that the Armenians who live there have a prosperous, safe, and secure existence?
I think the United States of America has to emphasize the strong relationship that we have between Armenia and the United States of America that we've always had. We share the same values, and we have to try and shine a light, like we are here today, on the crimes that are taking place against the people right now as we speak, and the human rights violations. So I will always try and add my voice to the voice of the Armenian Americans that are here today, to shine a light on that and to stand up for the Armenian people, and to say that we're against the idea of a waiver of Section 907.
And to use this opportunity on this solemn day, what would be your message to Armenian people around the world?
As we see you, we hear you, we know that there was a genocide that took place, and we say never again, but using that idea of never again, we have to focus right now on what's being done to the Armenian people. So we have to say Getse Hayastan and Getse Artsakh.
Thank you so much.
Lifelong supporter of Armenia and Artsakh, one of the most important allies and friends of the Armenian people, Senator Robert Menendez once again made a strong and passionate case for worldwide recognition of Armenian genocide and the need to stop arms aid to Azerbaijan and make sure people of Artsakh have a safe and secure future in their ancestral lands.
A year ago today, after more than a century of struggle, an American president made history. After more than a century of sidestepping, an American president called the Ottoman Empire's systematic drive to eliminate the American people by its true name. After a century, President Biden called it genocide, and that is what history records. We call it genocide because after decade and decade, the Knights and Daughters of Vartan never gave up on the truth, as you never did. He called it genocide because year after year we have come to Times Square to remind the world of this crime. He called it genocide because day in and day out, the Armenian diaspora, churches, civic groups, phone banks, the lobby legislators who wrote letters. Even during COVID, the Armenian Assembly kept up the fight with conferences and seminars over Zoom. And last year, Anka sent over 1 million messages advocating for justice. And because of your efforts, my wife Nadine, whose grandfather perished in the genocide, and I gather here with you once again. We remember the victims and honor the survivors of the Armenian genocide. Some someone who has long been an advocate for recognizing the Armenian Genocide, it is an honor to be with you once again. Even as the Ottomans committed this crime over 100 years ago, they tried to suppress the truth.
Senator, thank you for coming, as always. What would be your message to Armenians everywhere in the world?
Well, we are here together with you. And on this day that we commemorate the 107th anniversary of the beginning of the Armenian genocide, we are reminded of those who lost their lives. We are reminded of those who survived. We are reminded of the struggle for justice and recognition. And I am proud that we have achieved the recognition of the Armenian genocide by an American president and by the United States Senate. But our work is not over. Commemoration alone is not the end. We must continue to struggle to make sure that Armenians and Artsakh are preserved, and that ultimately we must end military assistance to Azerbaijan, and we cannot have another Armenian genocide. Never again must mean never again.
I just wanted to ask you about the situation in Artsakh. If you can elaborate a little bit more, what can be done to ensure that Armenians there live in security and peace on their ancestral land?
Well, it is a combination of having our government, as well as others, push on the Azerbaijanis to stop their aggressions against Artsakh. It has to have, in my view, international recognition and eliminate the proposition that this is part of Azerbaijan. And at the end of the day, we have to stop, we, the United States, has to stop giving military assistance to the Azerbaijani government. And that's what I led a government accountability report that came back and said that the law as we've established it is being violated, and I want to make sure that we end military assistance to Azerbaijan and that our State Department advocates for the rights of Armenians in Artsakh.
Thank you so much, Senator.
The next speaker was Thomas Keane Jr., New Jersey General Assemblyman representing 21st Legislative District.
We know from history that laying crimes against humanity be forgotten, or even worse, intentionally ignoring them, only ensure that atrocities like them will be repeated. The Armenian Genocide and the deaths of 1.5 million men, women, and children have been acknowledged and universally condemned at the time and better known across the world. It was quite possible that the genocide perpetrated by the Nazis soon thereafter would have been prevented. And our efforts together to ensure a world in which human rights are universally recognized. We must never forget what happened when those rights are denied. That is why this commemoration of the Armenian Genocide is so very, very important. Thank you again for the opportunity to join you today and for your continued diligence to ensure a better world for each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. What would be your message to Armenian people everywhere in the world today?
Well, it's important that everyone stands together, that we make sure their voices are heard in commemoration, make sure that genocide like that never happens again. And people across the globe need to commemorate the 107th anniversary and need to stand up against genocide each and every time.
As you're probably aware, in Nagorno-Karabakh, it's a very serious situation with ethnic Armenians, indigenous population. In your opinion, what can be done to make sure that these people have a safe and secure existence on their ancestral lands?
Well, it's important that the United States can focus on sending some humanitarian aid and make sure people, again, around the country, around the world know what is going on.
Thank you so much.
New York State Senator John Liu, who for many years has come to Times Square to show his support for the recognition of Armenian genocide, addressed the audience.
The last time we were able to gather right here in Times Square, the crossroads of the world, commemorating this genocide that took place 107 years ago. Now, I've been to many of these, and it doesn't get any smaller. And, we live in the era of what they call fake news. Fake news comes, and it goes, and it disappears. The truth never disappears, even after 107 years. It is an important memory. And finally, the President of our country, the United States of America, has called what happened to 1.5 million people beginning in 1915. What it is, it was a genocide. That is exactly what it is. And until people recognize what happened, we're doomed to repeat the same evil, the same mistakes again. The recognition has to take place. The apology has to take place. That's why every year we gather here on April 24th to remember the beginning of this genocide, and so that we don't forget, so that the world makes amends the right way.
I want to begin by asking you, what would be your message to Armenians around the world on this solemn day?
It is a solemn day. First of all, I'm really happy to be here once again in Times Square. It's been 3 years since the last time we had a full commemoration here in the crossroads of the world back in 2019. But every year we have to gather here because, as I said, this is kind of like an era of fake news. People don't necessarily know what's true, what's not true. But the truth, when it's remembered so vividly and so clearly after 107 years, that is truth at the ultimate. And that it has passed the test of time, and we will never get past this until people recognize the genocide for what it was and make amends and apologize at the very, very minimum. Our President Joe Biden has finally said the words last year and again this year, and I hope that this will lead us down to a place where we can all finally be at peace without trying to gloss anything over or sweep anything under the carpet. We have to recognize the truth for what it is.
And my second question, as you know, the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh, in Artsakh, is very serious. In your opinion, what needs to be done to ensure that Armenians who live there have a secure and a comfortable future in their ancestral land?
Well, I thank you, brother, for asking me the question. I am a New York State Senator. I wish I was in Congress dealing with these foreign affairs, so I don't have an opinion about that specifically. But certainly when it comes to world history and what happened beginning in 1915 through 1918, I have very strong opinions about that. And my Armenian constituents never let me forget.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Grand Commander of Knights and Daughters of Vartan, Stephen Adams, who arrived from Fresno, California, to participate in Times Square genocide commemoration, made remarks.
I have traveled 3,000 miles to be with you today from Fresno, California. I've dreamt of this day for 3 years since taking office as the Grand Commander, to be with you in the center of Times Square. 1915 to 2022, 107 years later, we find ourselves once again standing in front of the world, remembering the genocide of the Armenian people at the hands of the Ottoman Turks. Is it even imaginable that after 100 years, we still need to be here, standing on this platform? Some would even argue as to why we are even still here. Why do we come together over an event that was over 100 years ago? The Turkish government would love nothing better than for us to forget. They would like nothing better than to see us quietly go away and just disappear into history. But let me tell you this, we are not going away, and we will never forget. Turkey must confront its past to heal itself. As Armenians, we gather together on April 24th, not only to draw the world's attention, but as our own form of healing. We gather in our churches, in public squares, to remind ourselves and the world to never forget.
Lisa Hovakimyan-Unel, Religious Affairs Director of the Armenian Council of America, arrived from California to take part in the event.
As we've seen by the Turkish government's 107-year policy of denial, all the way to the outright aggression seen in the 44-day war, whereby Azerbaijan's tyrant Aliyev, aided by his Turkish counterpart Erdogan, proceeded to attack and destroy the Armenian peoples in Artsakh. This was a continuation of their forefathers' legacy of raping, killing, and pillaging the Armenian people and their ancestral land. So now, more than ever, it is clear that if the Armenian people are to ever find peace and comfort in their homelands, there must be a change of heart from their neighbors. We call upon the United States to continuously reaffirm recognition of the Armenian Genocide. We call upon them to apply the necessary available pressures upon those who would deny it, and they must come to terms with these crimes that were committed 107 years ago.
The entertainment was provided by Eli Berberian and his band from Canada, as well as a special guest from Armenia, duduk player Bagharshak Adamyan.
Komidas Anduni translation homeless.
His Eminence Archbishop Anushavan Tanelian, Primate of Eastern Prelacy of Armenian Apostolic Church of America, read the remarks and the closing prayer.
While I was watching you throughout all the commemorative program, an advertisement caught my attention. You cannot bury your past. Unfortunately, the world is not helping us to bury our poignant past. That's why we are here and we will be here until our dreams are fulfilled. Hanun Amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for enabling us once again to come together as Armenian community and celebrate the revitalization of our beloved city of New York, the financial capital of the world, but also the capital of art and harmony. New York, of more than 180 ethnic backgrounds, coexist here in what amount to daily celebration of democracy and peace. Amid all these blessings, we deplore the most recent tragedy in our beloved city, where a criminal mind created fear and injured many. We also deplore the wars in different parts of the world, where people are crossing the valley of death instead of celebrating the spirit of spring and the blessing of the holy resurrection. We are here today to commemorate an event that is at the root of all these evil acts, the Armenian Genocide. After 107 years, the perpetrators deny it with arrogance. Their exaggeration or phony justifications, as Cain, the proto-murderer, did he who shamelessly challenged God's inquiry, "Where is your brother?" with the vile answer, "Am I brother's guardian?" We are here today to remind everyone that the Armenian Genocide is not history, but still drives a current agenda to uproot and annihilate to 5,000 years old nation from its homeland on the Armenian plateau. The 44 days of war in Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh in 2020 and the continuous incursions in the southeastern region of Armenia since then are tangible signs of that evil satanic plan. Moreover, the destruction of Armenian monuments in western Armenia and Nakhichevan are undeniable proof of a continuous cultural genocide. Hence, we, heirs of the Armenian Genocide survivors, are here today to proclaim that the voice of 1.5 million innocents will not be silenced. We are here today to exhort the younger generation of the perpetrators' nation to accept the truth and only the truth.
The event concluded with a performance by soloist Evelina Sarkisyan of Brooklyn Armenian School.
Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, right with love. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Despite the horrors of Artsakh War, the continuing blatant aggression of Azerbaijan against the territorial integrity of Armenia, the will of the Armenian people cannot be broken, and the fight for the justice of recognition of Armenian genocide by Turkey and the rest of the world will continue to a victorious end.
Հայեր միացեք, հայեր, Արցախը մեզ կանչում է։